Imagine a world where the past isn't just, stuck in history books or museums or even fading memories. Picture this. Ancient cultures, languages, traditions, not just being preserved, but actually actively revitalized, brought back to life. And here's the kicker, the really surprising part. What if this whole cultural rebirth was powered by cryptocurrency? Now, I know you might hear that and think, hang on, crypto, isn't that just like digital money for trading online? But honestly, what we're about to dig into goes way beyond just finance. It's actually already happening. We've seen blockchain tech pop up in so many areas, right? But one of the most, I guess, unexpected and genuinely inspiring impacts is this revival, helping ancient cultures and traditions that were really, truly on the brink of disappearing. So that's our mission for this deep dive, to really unpack how cryptocurrency isn't just, say, funding preservation in a passive way, but is actively driving a kind of cultural renaissance.
It really is a remarkable shift, isn't it? Because, I mean, for so long, cultural preservation was mostly about safeguarding artifacts, maybe documenting practices in archives. What's fundamentally different now, I think, is that crypto isn't just enabling static preservation, like keeping things in a display case. It's actually facilitating an active dynamic resurgence. It's moving from just holding on to the past to really breathing new life into it.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really get it, maybe we need some examples. I know one of the really powerful stories is playing out deep in the rainforests of Latin America. Tell us about that.
Exactly. For generations, indigenous tribes in those regions have faced, well, significant economic isolation. It's a huge challenge. They're often cut off from standard financial systems, which makes it incredibly hard to, connect with global markets without totally compromising their way of life. But what some have found is this really profound solution: adopting blockchain-based currencies. These are, secure, decentralized digital forms of money, and it lets them basically build their own sovereign digital economy.
Wow, okay, so they can operate independently.
Pretty much. It means they can sell their unique artisan crafts and products directly, person to person, cutting out middlemen. This helps them maintain their autonomy. And, crucially, it empowers them to protect their ancestral lands from exploitation, like illegal logging or mining. It gives them financial inclusion, but importantly, without forcing them to give up their traditional lifestyle or values.
That sounds incredibly empowering. I mean, it's not just giving them cash, right? It's giving them actual control over their own cultural and economic destiny. But I wonder, what about the risks? What happens if the value of the crypto they're using suddenly tanks? Or, what if there's a big security breach? Are those vulnerabilities they have to deal with?
Oh, absolutely. Those are vital questions, and the communities themselves are usually very aware of them. It's not a blind leap. They often try to mitigate the volatility risk by, say, diversifying their digital assets, maybe using stablecoins, which are pegged to traditional currencies like the dollar. Or sometimes they even create their own community tokens. These hold value mainly within their local ecosystem, making them less vulnerable to those big global market swings. And yes, security breaches are always a concern with digital tech. But blockchain's design, its cryptography, and distributed nature actually makes it pretty resilient. More so than many centralized systems, arguably. It's definitely a calculated risk, but one they seem willing to take for the huge upside of self-determination.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a trade-off, a remarkable story of economic autonomy for sure. But this impact, it isn't just about trade or land, is it? It's also reviving, like you said, intangible cultural treasures. Let's shift gears, or maybe travel across the globe to New Zealand. What's happening there?
Right. In New Zealand, some Maori communities are using really innovative crypto platforms to actively encourage the use of their native language, Te Reo Maori. The mechanism is actually quite clever. Participants can earn crypto tokens when they, say, speak Maori online, or engage in traditional cultural activities, or even contribute to language learning resources.
Earn tokens for speaking the language.
Exactly. And what's really insightful here is how it creates this kind of positive feedback loop for the language itself. Every time someone speaks Maori, it's not just, following a rule. It's like an investment in a shared digital asset. It reinforces the collective value of the language and encourages active participation. It's a different dynamic than, say, traditional grants, which often lack that direct, tangible, ongoing reward.
Wow, so it's not just about learning, it's literally about earning and building collective value together.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating twist. But it makes me wonder though, could that kind of incentive system maybe pressure people, like make them feel they have to perform their culture for tokens instead of it coming from a more, intrinsic place?
Yeah, that's a valid concern, definitely something to watch. But typically, the focus in these projects is on community-driven initiatives. The idea is that the tokens are designed to reward organic engagement and reinforce practices that are already valued, not to dictate them from outside. It's really about lowering barriers, providing tangible recognition for efforts that might otherwise go unrewarded, empowering participation, hopefully, not commodifying identity. The community itself usually sets the rules and defines the value.
Okay, that distinction is important. Community control. It's fascinating how this works for physical things like land and intangible things like languages. But what about something even more abstract, like music? How can digital tokens possibly revive ancient sounds?
It's actually a truly beautiful application, I think. Think about ancient music from places like Africa, Central Asia, the Middle East. Sounds that maybe haven't been widely heard for generations, some really on the verge of being lost forever. These are now being tokenized as digital assets, NFTs, often.
So like digital collectibles, but for music.
Essentially, yes. They're represented as unique, verifiable units on a blockchain. This gives them a form of digital ownership, and they can be traded.
Yeah.
But it's not just about selling a few recordings. It's helping create this whole thriving ecosystem.
Right.
You have musicians, historians, enthusiasts collaborating, trading these digital tokens. And that activity, that value exchange, actually funds further research, exploration, and preservation work. Work that might preserve music that could have otherwise just vanished completely.
Yeah.
It's a powerful way to make sure these sounds keep resonating.
It really makes you appreciate how fragile these cultural threads can be and how, well, creative the solutions need to be to save them. And it's not just about digital assets or languages then, is it? We're also talking about protecting actual physical heritage sites.
Definitely not just digital. Blockchain's core feature, that transparency through its public ledger, makes it incredibly well suited for supporting heritage sites and archaeological projects. Think about traditional charity fundraising. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly where your money goes, right? There can be administrative costs, opacity. But with blockchain, potentially every donation, every expenditure could be visible and auditable on that public ledger.
Ah, so you can track your contribution directly.
Precisely. We're seeing communities near historical locations using crypto crowdfunding, raising funds directly from people worldwide to do things like restore ancient temples, revive traditional festivals, or protect sacred grounds from, say, urban sprawl. This radical transparency builds incredible trust. It encourages more direct contributions because donors can literally see the impact their funds are having on the ground.
That transparency is a huge plus, clearly. But I'm curious, does this new funding model maybe shift power dynamics within the community? Or could it, maybe unintentionally, create new dependencies, like dependencies on the crypto market or the technology itself for ongoing preservation efforts?
That's another important point to consider, absolutely. The goal is always empowerment of the local community. And often with blockchain, the power does shift more directly to them, maybe bypassing some traditional gatekeepers or intermediaries. However, it does introduce a reliance on new tech and potentially on the digital literacy needed to manage these crypto systems effectively. That's why many successful initiatives really prioritize education and local capacity building right alongside the tech rollout. They want to ensure the technology serves the community's goals, not the other way around.
These successes are genuinely inspiring, but, you know, for a proper deep dive like this, we have to look at the other side, too. Are there risks here? Are we maybe, I don't know, commodifying sacred traditions when we turn them into tokens? What are some of the ethical knots we need to untangle?
This is probably one of the most critical questions, yeah. Can crypto truly empower cultures without inadvertently putting a price tag on sacred traditions? And as ancient practices or art forms become digital tokens, are we risking reducing them, turning them into mere collectibles, maybe stripping away some of their intrinsic spiritual or communal significance? These are very real concerns, and it's something that the thoughtful communities and developers involved in these projects are actively wrestling with. There aren't always easy answers.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
It is. But while those concerns are absolutely valid and need careful consideration, the potential benefits are just immense. What's potentially transformative here is how blockchain can allow marginalized communities all over the world to reclaim ownership of their own cultural narratives. They get to control how their heritage is shared and potentially profit from it authentically on their own terms. Instead of seeing it appropriated or misrepresented or exploited by, big corporations or outside interests, it really could represent a kind of decentralization, not just of finance, but of cultural authority itself.
Decentralizing cultural authority. That's a powerful idea.
It allows communities to be the primary stewards and beneficiaries of their own history, their own traditions. So ultimately, cryptocurrencies, They aren't just about profits or technological innovation or even purely financial freedom. At their most transformative, I believe, they're really about people. They're about potentially giving a voice and economic independence back to communities that have historically been sidelined by global markets and systems. They're about celebrating and actively revitalizing humanity's incredibly rich and diverse heritage in ways we couldn't have imagined even a decade ago.
It's quite a perspective shift, as we've heard how these digital currencies are breathing new life into ancient cultures.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unexpected partnerships, what other fusions between cutting-edge technology and time-honored traditions might be just around the corner, waiting to reshape our world? Something
Well,
to think about.